Chris Bamberg, and we're glad you can make it. If you are new, welcome. If you are familiar with our information, welcome again. We're excited and super happy to have you either way. We're going to talk a little bit about the title, Fat, Sick, Pain, and Medications, and some things that you can do and be aware of that could potentially reverse these situations on the spot. So without further ado, we'll let Chris say a word or two, and then we'll go ahead and get going. So we're excited to serve you with this information. So have an awesome time.
Hi, everybody, and we are excited to have you. Brian and I have probably said this many times already, but body language is the most powerful tool we have learned to date. And it's simply because it's helped us get to the core, the root, the emotional issue, because there's always emotional hangups, events that we haven't reconciled fully. And body language helps us understand what those are. It helps us understand what we're feeling in the moment or what we're still experiencing from our past, just with some very simple little itches, and scratches, and shoulder pains or static. And so what we're going to do is give you some hierarchical understanding of what the language means, because it's just like learning a foreign language. If you just understand some basics, you can start to translate a little bit, you start to work on yourself a little bit, and then you start to understanding yourself and others in a full and complete way, because only a small percentage of our language is actually verbally communicated. So let's get going.
Yep. So body language, what does it mean in our personal experience? So I think the best thing to start out with is what I'm about to share with you. And what I am inviting you to pay attention to is all of the stuff that may be going on right now, because that's all communication that your subconscious or your emotional body is attempting to get a message through to you or me. So while I'm talking, you may be going, it's all information. So my very first experience with body language was rather intense.
I think the best.
What?
Back up, just gotta keep going.
So it was rather intense. I was actually with my coach here about 4 years ago now, and I was sitting in class and I was really just scratching my arm really hard, like a lot more than normal. I was like, man, something's up. I don't know what, but that's not normal, right? Well, at the break of class, I walked over to Bob and I was like, hey, Bob, I was like, what does this stuff mean? And I said a couple of words out of my mouth, and literally about 4 or 5 words out of my mouth, he goes, well, how long have you had a death wish? So some things to understand here. What we are sharing with you is really past next level information, okay? Next to the next to the next level. And the reason why we say that is because what we're going to share with you tonight is understanding language codes, meaning there are words that represent certain things. And I think it's important for you to understand that our subconscious is 100% literal. So words that come out of our mouth instruct our subconscious to do things, good or bad, either way. And it's all code. And everywhere we scratch and everywhere we have a pain or a symptom that shows up, that is something that's going on emotionally. If we have an injury that shows up, that means that we have had an emotional thought pattern or belief system that has been believed so strong and so much emotion into it that it has created an experience in our environment that has injured us. I have had multiple ones happen on me because of things I was thinking about and wasn't processing appropriately, that I actually created injuries because of it and what I was thinking about. And you may say like, Brian, it's a little far-fetched. Well, we invite you to consider to hang around for a little bit, because we're going to share with you some real life experiences and some things that we should be able to provide you with that may help you to make a better understanding of this as we cruise along. So here are some things to think about. And do you have any of these? And it's not wrong or right. It's just feedback. I had suicidal thoughts. That's how my coach picked it up when I was in my 20s, okay? So are you having suicidal thoughts now? Are you having back issues? Are you having upper back issues on your right side of your back or your left side of your back? That's all indicative of whether it could be you having issues around a male or a female, or your job, or with what you're receiving. What about knee issues? Knee issues is unforgiveness, right side male, left side feminine. Neck issues, we'll get into that. Body aches, inflammation. Digestive issues, hating your feelings. Eczema, skin issues. That's feeling issues. Where it shows up on our body is representative of the emotional feeling that's going on. Medication dependency is indicative of what the medical system puts people on, because it doesn't understand the emotional component that creates the issue. Okay? Failing organs. Every organ has an emotional pattern that goes with it, and we'll talk about them in a little bit, so just give us a little bit, we'll get down that way. So poor relationship with yourself, not loving yourself. I have been there, and if you are there, if I were to ask you the question, do you love yourself, and your answer was anything other than yes, then that means no, and it's not wrong. Just feedback, and probably one of the most important questions you could ever ask yourself, because if you don't love yourself, expect bad or less than optimal circumstances, situations, people, events, and things that show up in your life on a consistent basis until that is rectified and came to a resolution. Financially struggling, same thing, because all of our self-worth and our value, that's what money equates to. Disharmony in your environment, meaning if you look around at your environment and you know that your family's in chaos, or your relationship with certain people's in chaos, your job's in chaos, things are breaking down around you, that's all representative of what's going on internally. Now, the beauty of that is that we can change it at any time once we are aware of it and can adjust it. I think it's important to understand that over 85% of our communication is done nonverbal, and we have had multiple studies that have been done all the way back into the 70s by AT&T and Homeland Security that have proven all of this stuff. So our promise to you is that by the end of this training, you will know a lot about body language. You will understand what your body is saying and have some very rudimentary understandings of what certain things mean and how you can start relating them to what you are thinking. That way you connect the dots. So we invite you to be fully present as we share this wisdom with you. This is by far the most valuable stuff that we can teach you. Even though we're understanding all the awesome stuff that God's blessed us with to understand about food that we share with you already, this is the Holy Grail, in my opinion. Chris will probably confirm. So please turn your phone off. Give yourself this undivided time to connect with yourself and learn a skill set that will change your life, and anyone that is around you that is open-minded to participate, you will produce the same results. I have seen more miracles happen with this information in 1 to 14 minutes than I've ever seen with anything else, and that's working with over 16,000 people. So this stuff's amazing. So we invite you to close Facebook, go where it's quiet, get some water. We encourage you to take notes and understand that today is all that we have. So we invite you to do something now that you'll thank yourself for tomorrow, and that really is just being present. So body language. Part 1, how does it relate to our feelings? Part 2, we're going to talk about is static body language. We're going to talk about when a shoulder's tight, your right shoulder's tight or your left shoulder's tight. What could be going on emotionally? Part 3 is organ body language. I mentioned it to you just a little bit, but we're going to help you to understand why kidneys equals unforgiveness, why your thyroid equals anger, that kind of stuff. And then we're actually going to talk about reading body language, which is where we're going to give you some tools so you can use this today.
So what's important here is please stay to the end. We'll tell you how to get a free 20-minute consultation body language assessment for you. So if you thought this information was valuable, just stay to the end and we'll tell you how to take advantage of that. But let's just talk about a few things first, right? So first, where are you breathing from right now? You have to understand that there's this connection between your emotional body and your physical body. And if your emotional body, which is often affected by your environment, is in control, then sometimes your body has an innate reaction to go from, whether you say we evolved from that, but into a fight or flight response. Now, fight or flight doesn't mean that you're always fearful of your life. It can be fearful of your finances. It can be fearful of your relationship. It can be fearful of outside perspectives or possibilities or anxiety of future states. Fight or flight can be controlling all of your emotions and your function in your body. So consciously, in your breath, where are you breathing from? If you're breathing from your chest, you're in a nice, relaxed state. I'm sorry, if you're breathing from your chest, you're in fight or flight. That means your medulla is controlling your functioning right now. If you're breathing from your diaphragm, which is right above your belly, you're in a nice, relaxed state, and you're in what we call thriving. So take this moment to just slow everything down, put away your cell phone, take a nice big drink of water, and breathe a couple of nice deep times in through your nose and out through your mouth. Full, whole breath. Focus on trying to breathe all the way through and into your diaphragm. Most people do not take the time to consciously breathe deep. And there are so many health benefits associated to you. But the first thing we want you to do is feel relaxed, open-minded, and enjoying your state and relaxing yourself out of fight or flight and into a nice relaxed state. So go ahead, in through your nose, out through your mouth, bounce a few quick times, slow times. How about that? Now, Brian and I often will talk about why we do this, but hopefully you already know a lot of these numbers, which is people are sick and they're dying of all sorts of things that are really within their control. There are millions of drug reactions every year. There's overprescribed antibiotics, and there's so many accidental deaths by Western medical. And that is why Brian and I do what we do. We're trying to prevent death by accident, basically. We're all supposed to live long, whole, full lives. And Brian and I do a lot of work on the physical body through nutrition and education, but we also do a lot on the mindset in the belief systems and your knowledge. And then we're also, which is the focus of tonight, is body language. That is your spirit, your emotional body, because all of them have a huge impact in your health, because we don't want you to be stuck in part of the system. The system is broken. There's millions in symptom management. There's leading causes of death that are changing. There's just lots of stuff done from a toxic perspective. And we're helping you to choose a better life for yourself. But what's great about the bad news is that most of these are preventable with better lifestyle choices. Brian and I focus on air, water, food, and consciousness as the tools by which we share information. And tonight's focus is the consciousness. And you could think about that as your brain, but if you think about it from what I would call a biblical or religious standpoint, is that there's three parts to your body. There's your physical body, the chemical makeup. There's your mind and the retention, your memory and your knowledge. And then there's your spirit, there's your emotional body. And all of them have a huge impact over your health. And so how do you control all of them? And understanding them is why we're teaching body language this evening. Because if you can understand your emotional body if you can read that language like you could understand a verbal language, you can make leaps and bounds in your physical health too. Brian and I, just like you though, we've obviously made a lot of struggles, both physically and emotionally. Brian and I have both struggled with a variety of, well, what do you want to call that, Brian? Experiences in life?
Ups and downs, we call those.
Ups and downs.
We're human, for sure. So yeah, like Chris said, we are definitely just like you and may be in a position where you are right now. And honestly, we probably have been in worse positions if we were to actually have a more in-depth conversation. And it's not about who's in a worse situation. It's about understanding that there's some hope and there is a way to understand some things that are very easily implemented if you choose to make dramatic differences really fast if you are willing to walk through the door. Now, it's very important to understand that the door opens towards you. You don't have to kick it in.
I think what's important here too to know is that Brian and I have come and been through what I would call the ringer. And what I mean by that is we can talk to you about any subject with a totally non-judgmental attitude and perspective. So anything that comes up in emotional language or body language, we know that we can address that from a place of love, because we only see perfection in our clients and ourselves, and we love us and love you wherever you are in your current state.
That's right. So here's a little bit about us, and this is not a bragging page. This is more so you have an understanding that what Chris and I do, we have devoted a lot of time, money, and resources, and I am itching my eye with my pinky. So we'll talk about that as far as body language. And so some of the stuff that we've been involved with is obviously a lot of body language stuff, a lot of background through Baylor, National Academy of Sports Medicine, Institute of Integrative Nutrition. There's over 20, probably between both of us, probably close to 30 of them. And just saying that we have started this at a young age and knew at an early age that this is what we desired to do. Never thought it was going to turn into this. We've been collecting information and being connoisseurs of what works and what doesn't, and figuring out how to make it work in a human operating system, which is kind of how we're at now. And some of the people that we get blessed to work with, that's a good friend of mine, my client, Jonathan Sprinkle, is America's Connection Coach. This gentleman's in the Forbes magazine. He's done a lot of stuff with Oprah and Dr. Phil and all those, and just amazing guy. Chris and I get to help with their nutrition. We get to help their staff. We get to help them with their brain functioning with foods and teaching them body language. We've gotten blessed to go out and speak out at Life Austin Church multiple times. And if you see the back of that top picture, if you look in the back, you'll see a heart-shaped pizza, and you'll see a red velvet cupcake that looks mighty tasty. And I think it's important for you to understand that we have these. I probably have them a little more often than what I should right now, and it's okay. So Chris has been, we've been out to Monsanto 3 times so this last 3 years.
Yes, sir.
So Chris gets invited to go speak out at the Capitol on a march against Monsanto, which is genetically modified foods. And it's just a huge honor that we were able to share what God's blessed us with to the masses. That's actually me in the middle. Look like I just ate a couple of turkey dinners for that picture. We were at the Aveda Institute, where we also get to go out there and talk and share information and cool stuff. And I think it's important to understand that we do a lot of personal development. That is one of our major investment expenses, because we believe in it highly. We have coaches on a consistent basis, typically 4 to 6 different ones at a time, depending upon what we're trying to do. So we are firm believers in investing in ourselves. So ultimately, we can show up the best for you, for ourselves, and for our families, no matter where we're at and what we're doing. So I think it's really important for you to understand, because you're catching us after we have gotten a lot of things wrong and are on a bit of the upswing, I guess is what you'd probably say. So we actually used to be part owners of a massive gym here in Austin. If you look at it, you literally could play football inside that gym. That's how big it was. And honestly, I really miss the workouts. I just don't miss training, because you can't reach the people that we would like to do, like what we're doing now and what we do in a public speaking arena. You can't help that many people personal training them, because they don't truly understand all of the dynamics that goes along with body language and nutrition and things like that. They're more along the lines, most of them, thinking that personal training or training period is what's going to resolve a lot of the issues. And what we found by working with over 16,000 different people, that's so not the case. And that's really why we are doing the type of education, teaching, and information sharing that we're doing with the specific vehicles that we are doing them with, to reach more people like yourself now without even having to be in a gym, which is where you make most of the changes through your food and through your mindset.
And we definitely learned that hard way. I mean, you know, it was because we had clients failing out, right? And so why were they failing? Brian and I were constantly trying to improve, choosing to improve and better ourselves. And we learned that even though with as much as we knew with, training and nutrition, we didn't know enough about the emotional body and how to affect that. I mean, you know, we could try to rah pump you up, but if we weren't really aware or how to talk and discuss with people about emotional struggles that they were going through, or even what they were and helping them identify them, then we weren't truly really helping these people. And so by teaching you this information, we have once again struggled for decades with the hard way of just trying to help people on the physical body, just through training and nutrition. But the easy way, let me tell you, the easy way is the emotional body, because in the end, all of us really just desire to feel better. We have worked with thousands of people, decades of experience, and the formula has everything to do with the emotional body. But Brian and I are not doctors. We're not trying to be doctors, actually. I don't know if you know that. But if you take medical advice from us, i.e., foods to help you get off medication or whatever, we encourage you to bounce that information off of your doctor, because that's important. The emotional body stuff, your doctor is absolutely not going to know anything about. But regardless, that's sort of how.
And hey, to add to that, I think it's really important not to speak negatively of the medical system. I think it's important to understand that their education and how they are taught has nothing to do with grocery store foods. Like, to kind of give you a statistic, I invite you to wrap your head around this. 6% of graduating physicians have less than 3 hours of nutritional education. So let me explain to you what a 3-hour nutritional class would look like. That would look like a protein is involved in muscle tissue repair. That would look like a carbohydrate is one of our main user-friendly uses of energy. A fat is another potential energy source. That's really about it. That's not understanding how your body reacts certain ways, why your digestion works certain ways, why certain foods do certain things in your body. It has nothing to do with that. So when we share this information with you, expect your doctor to not have a freaking clue most of the time, unless you are going to a naturopathic doctor, someone who is skilled in this. They're not going to know what you're doing or what you're talking about, and they may even shy you away from it. Some of my clients that have had cancer and Parkinson's and things like that, especially my clients that were doing chemo and doing nutrition stuff, their doctors would tell them to not have vegetables during this process. Now, I don't know about you, but that just sounds really foreign just coming out of my mouth, even saying that. I'm not sure how it makes you feel, and I have a solid feeling that you being on our training, you're probably thinking the same thing, and that's okay. Just giving you some heartfelt information so you understand how to take care of you, because ultimately every time you walk by the mirror, you're the only person who's responsible for yourself. It's not going to be your doctor, it's not going to be your mom, it's not going to be your dad. So it's going to be about the information that you allow to come into your brain and use, and from who you are getting it from, making sure they are trusted people and they know what they're talking about, have got a proven track record, and they live this and do this on a daily basis. That's who you want to make sure you're getting your information from. And then if anything, just try it out and see how you feel. Everyone is different. It's like a brand new science project with every person, because no one's the same. Carry on.
And it's good to be mindful, because once again, everybody has a gamut of different health issues. And so many people, their first and only understanding is to go to the doctor. But you have to understand where the doctor's limitations are. And everybody wants to feel better in some form or fashion, right? Brian and I have clients that are, you know, amazing in their careers, but their personal relationships or their personal health is struggling. We've helped ages and Googles of people that have been struggling with medications and dependence, and they've been on them for 10 or 20 or 30 years with no sight, and we've helped them get off medications. And we've had people that have been struggling with their weight, sometimes their whole life, to help them lose weight and gain control of their body, because everybody desires to feel better. And the key to all of these people is actually their emotional body to feeling better. So we're going to go over some real basic body language to start, just to warm you up. Do you have any symptoms with or tightness in these areas of your body? Stomach, often related to fear. Chest or throat, sadness. Maybe you have felt that at a funeral, or the loss of a loved one, or while in the hospital. You know, back and neck, anger. You know, if you think about that area, that being that fight or flight area, when you're in that fight mode, that tightness in your neck and the upper back and the traps, that's where a lot of people hold their stress levels, because they're hanging on to anger in their body. These are very simple and understanding. So if you start recognizing these signs, okay, why am I feeling fear or sadness or anger? And how can I let this go? How can I realize this is not true? Am I imagining a future state? Am I not letting something go? To address these very early signs before they turn into more serious symptoms.
Yeah, I think that's important to understand that when you have a symptom that shows up and shows up and shows up and shows up, don't just ignore it. The blessing is in identifying what the symptom is and what's functioning underneath that to resolve the issue before it actually has time to turn into a pain, a medication, a disease, an illness, or anything of that nature.
And we recognize that this area of your emotional body might be foreign to you. Many people don't recognize even the different separate pillars of themselves, right? Sometimes they're wondering why their mind is running out of control, or they don't realize that stress has an impact on their health. They're not recognizing that you have these different areas of your body that all require you to take care of them and love on them. Your mind requires you to use it and functionally grow and learn daily. Your body requires healing and nutrients and the right vitamins and minerals to function properly. And your emotional body requires quiet time and peace and forgiveness and love. And so each thing, you feed these different parts of your body differently. And if you don't, if you're failing in certain areas, there is going to be a physical body replication or repercussion of these things. So, you know, in Western medical science, there's a huge struggle of the placebo versus nocebo. A lot of people have heard the placebo term, but not a lot of people are recognizing the nocebo term. But let me explain what this is. Western medical science, when they want to prove that a pharmaceutical drug works in the body, they have to prove it works better than the emotional body. That's the placebo. So basically, the fact is that if the possibility exists that you're going to get better from something, you can believe and get better anyway. And it happens all the time. And so that's the placebo effect, the belief that you're going to get better. And so people with very terminal illnesses sometimes will just know that they're in a double-blind study. They are specifically told there's a great chance you're not even getting the medication. You're only going to get a pill, because they don't want them to believe that they might get better. Otherwise, it might skew the results that their pharmaceutical drug even works at all, right? So placebo versus nocebo. Now, nocebo, the opposite is true. If your emotional body believes that you're going to get better, your emotional body can also believe that you're going to die or you're going to get sicker, and you do. There are so many documented medical diseases that are based in the mind because the person is feeling certain ways, or they believe that they're going to get sick, and they do, and they have those symptoms. There's all these different studies that even go on where they people believe that they were being exposed to certain poisons or toxins or whatever and had symptoms even though they weren't actually exposed, only because they believed that they were. There's so many medically documented cases where somebody was told that they were diagnosed with cancer and they had 6 months to live, and they died in 2 weeks. Way faster, because as soon as they believed that they were going to die, the body just went ahead and started to shut down. So your emotional body has an amazing control of your physical body, way more than anybody is really giving it credit for. And for every feeling that you have, there's a chemical reaction. That's why itches and pains, scratches and soreness and stiffness, popping, all of this stuff, all these physical symptoms can have an emotional connection associated, and they do. So this is why we teach body language. It's to help you yourself, or if you're working with people, to understand what patterns might be going on, emotions might be holding them back. Once again, aches, pains, symptoms, or types of disease and the way that is affecting the body all can have an emotional connection that is driving the symptom. So when you're working with yourself or when you're working with clients, when did this stuff start? When did the pain or the injury happen? What was going on in your life? What was going on in your, what were you thinking about? What were you discussing at the time? And what emotions were present? It's amazing. Listen, when you've seen the practical application of this stuff, Brian and I have seen what I would have witnessed. I've seen psychotherapy or working with a psychologist take years to do. I have seen people have healing from emotional struggles in 10 minutes from that were dealing with 20 to 30 years of pain, and families restored in minutes versus years. When you can reach the pure core of the emotional issue that is showing up through body language, you reach the root, right? We talk about, trees of your issues, and so many people are like picking the fruit of a symptom, right? Like they're like, oh, let me get rid of this, or let me get rid of this, and they're not addressing the tree, or even more importantly, they're not addressing the root of the issue. When somebody is struggling on and off with weight loss over and over and over again, the root of the issue is that they haven't necessarily found the right diet. The root of the issue is why do they not have why are they self-sabotaging? And what emotional or limiting belief set them across that? What event in their life has triggered that? Instead of trying to figure out what diet pill to try next, or to get a Latvian thing on their stomach, why not dig back into the emotional issue that was driving the bad behavior and self-sabotage to begin with? That's what body language does for both us and our clients.
So part 2, let's talk about some static body language, okay? Now, your right side of your body, like literally, if you look at the little picture on the right-hand side, you draw a picture right down the right side of your body. That is your masculine side, or your doing side. Your dad, giving, helping, any of those. There's about 5 or 6 different options for things on your masculine side, same as on your left side. So you have your feminine, your intuitional, receiving, creative, mom, being fed, contracting side. So let's talk about this, and I'm going to do a little screenshot so you can see me. So everybody take your hand like this and touch your hand. This part of your hand is about you. This part of my hand is about me. Anywhere you have a contraction, I'd say, or closing off and making the distance shorter, that is a contraction area. That is about me and you personally. So hands about me, forearm, bicep is about me. My face, my neck, my chest is about me. My hamstring, my calf, the bottom of my foot, and my glute are all about me. Now others, back of our head, our back, our tricep, the back of our arm, our quads or our leg muscles, our shins is about others, and our top of our foot is about others. So now we talked about both those. So if you talk about our head, everybody touch your head. This is about thinking, knowing, and remembering. Our neck connects our thinking, knowing, and remembering with our doing. Our torso is about doing. Our legs are about moving forward, and our feet are about understanding. So let me just throw you a couple of real life examples so maybe you can understand this a little bit more effectively. Say, for example, somebody on here may have a wrist issue. You'd be like, man, Brian, my wrist, I don't remember doing anything to it. I just woke up one morning and my wrist was hurting and I just don't know what I did. Well, you know what's interesting is that a lot of times people wake up, well, let's talk about our neck. They woke up and say, oh man, I slept wrong. I don't know what I did, but I just must have slept wrong. My neck's all messed up. Well, let's think about that. Do you think you hurt yourself while you were asleep? Same thing my coach asked me. I was like, no, probably not. He said, because what's going on is when we are asleep, our conscious mind is asleep too. Meaning there's no thoughts and stories going on about anything between our conscious mind and our subconscious. Our conscious mind's asleep. So when you are asleep, your subconscious is still running, and it's still using our body as a keyboard for information and for communication. So when we have an emotion that hasn't been dealt with appropriately, or a situation that hasn't been dealt with appropriately, ow, things start hurting. One night I woke up, my bottom of my right foot hurt, and my right hip was hurting. Somehow I had a dream when someone was stealing my almond butter. And we'll talk about that too. It's kind of weird. And I woke up and my foot was hurting. Like I was walking on, trying to go to the restroom. Man, my foot hurts. So I said, all right, I give myself permission to be flexible with what I'm understanding and moving forward. And bam, gone. So what we're teaching you is definitely next level information and extremely important for you to understand how to resolve your issue right when it happens. It's really simple once you get the hang of it. So next one. And our feet are all about understanding or balance. Now let's talk about our ear. Ears are all about hearing, obviously. Shoulders, our back of our shoulders is about burdens or blessings returning. We'll talk about that. Just remember burdens right now. Anytime someone's got back issues, there's a burden of some type. Chest issues is burdens or responsibilities or burdens with our responsibilities about us personally. So remember, touch your wrist joint, like touch your right wrist. This is all about flexibility, handling what you're doing. Seems pretty logical once we say it out loud. And then you've got your hand, which is all about handling or receiving what you're handling. And now you've got your knees, which are all about forgiveness. Right side of your kneecap, like this. Let me show you so you can see. So if you touch the right side of your knee like this, this is my male side. This is my knee. Obviously, if I was having a pain on the front of my knee, that's about someone else, male figure. That means I have unforgiveness, okay, with a male figure, or unforgiveness with something that has been done to me. Now, if you touch the back of your knee, men, ladies, you touch the back of your left knee. Now, if any of this area hurts, that is about us personally, which means if you're a man, right side, back of your knee is about you personally, because that's where it closes in. Left side, ladies, back of your kneecap is about you, where it closes in. So if that ever happens, know that you have some unforgiveness going on, that your body is trying to tell you, hey, we have some emotions that we haven't dealt with. And when you understand that, you can easily say, oh, wow, I give myself permission to forgive myself for blah, blah, blah. I give myself permission to forgive person XYZ. And it goes away like that. Awesome. Next. So let's talk about part 3, which is body language for our organs. So first one, touch your throat right here. This is your thyroid. This is all about anger. When someone comes to you and they're on thyroid medications, that's the first question I ask. All right, when have we gotten angry about something we haven't resolved? That's our will. So if you have hyperthyroidism, that's dad. Hypothyroidism is mom. Okay, and then we have thymus, which is all about fear. Our heart is all about love, or love, pain from love. Like that was my experience when I was 20. I had a painful relationship that created some sabotageal thoughts. Okay, and we'll actually talk about foods and things too in some of our trainings that correlate to helping the organ systems. So then you've got stomach. Stomach equals fear. And then you've got liver, which is resentment. And then we have our spleen, which is apathy, which is I can't, it's too hard. We've got our liver and gallbladder, which is resentment. And then we've got our kidneys, which is all about unforgiveness. So anytime somebody says, oh, I've got XYZ going on, immediately think about the emotional component that goes with the organ system, and you are in the mix with resolving it right there. That's how fast it goes, because we break down emotionally before we do physically. So part 4, we're going to talk about how you read body language and some things that you need to make sure that you do. When you're working with someone, as you start learning this stuff a little bit more effectively, it's always imperative that you ask for permission. The only way that you can move forward is with a yes statement. Okay? Second thing you can do is find out what are the person's symptoms. Never ask what they've been diagnosed with. That's the Western medicine model of naming a thing so that now they can treat it with some type of treatment or some type of medication. Stay away from that. Just ask, what are your symptoms? Oh, I noticed that I have fever and I have diarrhea, or whatever the case may be. Okay? The symptoms will reveal the questions you get to ask them. And then after you ask the question, what signals came up? Like right now, while I'm talking to you, is your body moving? Is your foot moving? Is your foot bouncing up and down? Are you scratching your finger? Or you got your finger in your ear scratching it? That's all information. One gesture doesn't tell you everything, and it points you in the right direction. So you can start asking more questions. And then you start looking for a lot of clusters of information, which obviously we'll share with you. That way you can start understanding what's going on better. Pay attention to the environment. and timing of signals, because I'll be honest with you, every time there's been plenty of times when I've been thinking something in my brain, and for confirmation, my environment, something will happen, a red cardinal will fly by, or a bluebird will fly by, or something will fall, or something will happen that gets my attention that I know is a confirmation for whatever I'm thinking about. Sneezes is another one. So just look for repeating patterns. And we're going to talk about the emotional scale of harmonics. So the emotional scale of harmonics, this is really cool because it's crazy, actually. So here's a go. Start at the top. Emotion number 7, which is as high as it gets, is entheos, which is God in you and God in me. When I say I'm enthusiastic, that's as high as you can get on the emotional scale. So you have enthusiasm, pain, anger, fear, grief, apathy, which is I can't, it's too hard, and unconsciousness. Now, we may say, well, Brian, what does that mean? Well, let's share some stuff with you. So, for example, you may have a time when you scratch your face 3 times. Enthusiasm, pain, anger, fear, grief, apathy, unconsciousness. 3 times is grief. Right side is male side or masculine. So I either A, have grief with myself because it's on the front of my face. You would not be surprised, or you probably would be surprised how much this happens when I'm talking to people. Their body's already communicating. It's letting me know where they're at emotionally to support them if they are willing to walk through the door. That is the key. And how does the door open? Towards you. That's right. Great job. So here's what I would like for you to do. I would love for you to imagine a few things. And now imagine right now that it's been 5 years and you know exactly what your body is telling you exactly when it comes up. You know when you're driving down the road, your stomach is tight, that you have fear. Or you know when you're at home and you're having a discussion with your partner and your back and your neck gets tight, you know that's anger. Now that you've known that for 5 years, how do you think your life, or how is your life different, understanding this wisdom and how you have applied it? Because here's the deal. It's not about what's wrong. It's about what's returning to you. So if you're in an upset mood, you can change it that fast when you understand it, rather than just going through with your day, letting it ruin the rest of your day. Imagine if you knew how to change it, how much different your life would be. Imagine if you knew how to support your clients and your partner or your children, all the above, your work colleagues, anyone. When you understand this information, people are going to come up to you itching and scratching without them even knowing. It's their subconscious knowing that you know how to get a message through to help them out. People get real itchy around me. They're like, oh, I hate being around you. I'm like, don't hate being around me. I'm not judging you. I just may be able to offer you some solutions, as well as Chris, if you choose to have a conversation. That's all. So imagine that you understood when you had a pain or a symptom show up, like when I had one show up on my foot, when somebody stole my almond butter when I was in my dream. Imagine if you knew how to wake up and you say, man, my foot hurts, and it's on the bottom of my foot. What did Brian and Chris say? The bottom of my foot is about me personally as a man. Oh, wow, I must be having some issues not understanding how to move forward. Oh, well, that's good to know. Well, what does this turn into? This means that I get to give myself permission to be flexible with what I'm understanding and moving forward. Oh, wow, my foot doesn't hurt. He's had this happen. Happens that fast. Imagine if you're enjoying your life pain-free. You may be a person on this call right now whose life is dictated by where you can go and how long you can be there, because you don't know how long you're going to be able to last because your pain starts kicking in. Imagine if you understood how to resolve that to where you can reclaim your life, you can get off the medications, and you can start enjoying the quality of your life, and probably add some quantity to your life as well.
I like more quantity.
Yeah, and quality.
Amen.
Quantity without quality is not good.
Or fun.
Yes.
So here's your invitation, Brian and I, to join us and our team and our wonderful people that have already decided to join with us in learning body language. Here are some of the subjects that we're going to cover. We're going to cover why body language, first of all, way more in depth about static and dynamic definitions, Dynamic is the clusters, right? The reading the multiple different signals that you can be in the different parts of the body so that you can put them all together to read a story. Systematic, postural imbalances. What do they mean? What's going on? Raised shoulder, walking with a limp, these types of things. Onset of symptoms experiences, going back and tracing them back to their original. Doing and receiving, unlocking your client's biggest emotional barriers or your own. There is nothing more valuable than that, and understanding where your limiting beliefs actually come from. Reaching the core of their or your own struggle. Recognizing the lie, the language code, because we definitely spend a lot of time in language and how they are so synergistic, the body language and the verbal language, as to understanding what's going on in the emotional body. Acupressure meridians, because when we go and explain about that, it has a lot to do with the organ sets. And if we have a lot to do and we have understanding about the organ sets, we also know that emotions that can be attached to those organ sets. Practical application, how can I use this? How can I use this on myself and other people? And with some basic understanding to be able to use this in a normal environment. And the freedom process, once you uncover emotional issues, how to resolve them. That is, well, probably the most valuable thing we can probably offer anybody ever at all, at any time.
They don't call it freedom for nothing.
So here's what you get. You get our 3 online trainings: body language, translation, understanding, language code, everything we just talked about. If you missed the live session, it's okay. We'll have it recorded. You'll have access to it for probably a year in our new training portal that's just launched. We got a couple of quick bonuses for you, which is if you decide to join the group, we have a Facebook community for all of our clients where you get to ask community support questions. We're going to start a group coaching call for just our community, where you get some live interaction with Brian and I. That is one of the most valuable things that we can offer. You'll also get our smoothie recipes. Our smoothie recipes are one of the most valuable things we can teach for the physical body. So putting together smoothies with grocery store foods that are amazing at symptom reversal, disease reversal. And once again, remember how we talked about a lot of foods affect certain organ sets. So food can have such an impact on your emotional body too, and addressing and healing, that you just got to remember that connection between mind, body, and spirit. It's about making all of them feel better. So you get our 3 trainings, freedom process. You get all of that wonderful stuff that we're going to talk about on body language, access to the recordings if you miss it. You'll get 2 months membership to our closed membership site and group coaching calls, as well as our smoothie recipe videos. And for a total of $9.99 is what we're going to offer this on our site right now if you click the enroll button below. But thank you for staying to the end. We appreciate it. And so, Brian?
Yeah, so hey, we got a deal for you even better than that. So what we're offering you is not a $9.99, which is typical retail value. We're actually offering it to you for $3.99. Now here's the deal. You have until 8:30, which is exactly 42 minutes from now. And here's the thing. When you go to our website and you use the link for the coupon code, put in body and then hit apply, and it'll drop the price down to $3.99. I can tell you that if you've been following us for a long time and you're really like, Brian, what would be the best information that I could learn to really make an impact in my life right now and my family's life? Hands down, this one's the one. I have seen more miracles happen, and Chris is the same way. I have had multiple conversations in the last 2 weeks of people that have had experiences with major knee pains, have had asthma, have had digestive disorders for 30 years. They have wasted time. They have wasted a lot of money treating symptoms and not understanding what the root of the issue was. We literally resolved them in a 14-minute conversation, and they have not returned.
Okay. Ankle issues, neck issues have helped so many people just in the last couple of days that they thought there were physical issues, but they were emotionally caused. Just through conversation, we understood it, we resolved it, and what you won't believe is when you resolve the emotional issue on the spot, physically, it's healed immediately, instantly, gone.
Yep. I mean, we wouldn't be so adamant about informing you of this stuff if it not have happened. And here's the deal. We're even offering you a 100% risk-free guarantee. And here's the other deal. Chris and my phone number are right there. If you have a question, call us so we can help you out. We will be glad to share some information, maybe share a little bit more stuff for you so you feel comfortable with your investment, and it's guaranteed 100%. If you don't like it 2 weeks from now, you can get your money back. And that's why we have no issue saying that. And here's the deal. We also offered you a free strategy session. If you would choose to take advantage of that, email us at support@thinkgreatloseweight.com and just say, hey, I would like to take advantage of my 20-minute consultation with Chris or with Brian, whoever you want to put, just put it on there. That way we can give you some value back and help you out. And we look forward to really serving you with this information. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that out of all the 70,000 hours that I have involved in this, and Chris included, body language is where I hang my hat on the most potent information that I choose to study and master, because I have seen it happen multiple times, just creating miracles. I almost feel like Jesus, creating miracles. And that's with no food. That's without talking about an avocado or using the kiwi to reverse asthma. You're talking about dealing with the belief system, identifying it, and resolving it on the spot, and bam, it's gone. So there's what you got, 100% guarantee. You get a 60% discount on it if you act before 8:30, and that's all I got.
Love you all very much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying and learning with us. If you have any questions or feedback, just reach out to Brian and I. We would love to help you and assist you in any way possible. So thank you.
Awesome. Have a blessed night. We honor you and thank you for taking time and investing with us. And we know you got your time's worth, because you got some interesting information you can start toying around with, and hopefully you make the decision to invest in yourself. That way we can support you even on a further level and really give you some amazing gold to take home and invest in yourself mainly, and share it with your family and your friends. So have an awesome night. Remember, if you don't make time for your wellness,
you will make time for your illness.
Right. Love you. Bye-bye.